Nesh Nikolic here. I'm a clinical psychologist and I'm talking about the 5 love languages. If your relationship is in need of a little bit of a kickstart or a little bit of an improvement, a push along, you definitely want to hear about this. This is the 5 love languages. It's a book that was written by Gary Chapman in 1992, and I think it's still relevant today as it was back then. It's quite an exceptional thesis. The thesis kind of talks about this idea of each of us have a love tank. And our love tank can only be filled by our partner doing things. And so sometimes what happens in relationships is we stop feeling loved, or we stop feeling appreciated, we stop feeling connected with our partners. And Gary has offered some ideas in which way we can go out and refill this love tank. Now, interestingly, when we start courting, we tend to do all of them. And when our relationships start to, I suppose, form more stability and become routine, we tend to kind of drop some of these. But let me go through the 5 love languages to start with. The first one, words of affirmation, really is about how we go out and, in some sense, provide compliments to our partners, whether we go out and make comment of how beautiful they might be, or clever, handsome, how smart, intelligent, funny, humorous, how interesting or curious. We kind of notice and in some sense also acknowledge that using words of affirmations. The person feels affirmed about who they are and they affirm that they are loved. Quality time is the next one. I like to also call this undevoted attention with your partner. You see, a lot of us go out in this very, very busy world and we tend to be talking with our spouses, our partners, while we're on the phone or attending to kids or attending to something else on the computer, and it lacks quality time. Quality time is kind of like if we stop and pause and we spend time with one another. It could be over a cup of tea, it could be in the questions that we ask each other and that we're present in when we're listening and the like. So that's quality time. Then we've got gifts or receiving gifts. There's a lot of people who really enjoy and they feel appreciated and loved when they receive a gift. And so gift receiving or gift giving from the other side is really important for them. And look, gifts don't need to be huge. They don't have to be big, expensive diamond, jewelry or expensive sort of items of many hundreds of dollars. A gift could even be a little note, on a post-it note, which says, "I love you," or "Have a good day," or whatever it might be, which once again appreciates them. But it's a little gift that gets maybe popped into the person's lunchbox or wallet or purse. Then we've got acts of service. So an act of service is doing something for your partner that they either like to have done for them, or it might even be that we do something that they don't want to be doing. So it might be, for example, washing their car. I mention that because that's one of mine, and I tend to go out and do that in the way that I try and fill up my wife's love tank. So it's an act of service, doing something for the other. And then lastly, we've got physical affection. Now, physical affection is about physical contact, physical touch, sitting next to each other, might be a cuddle, a kiss, and obviously it can be sex as well. The focus is more on a closeness and a physical touch. The thesis looks at most of us have a top 2 or a primary 2, and trying to identify and know what your 2 are is important, and more importantly, it's really, really important for your spouse, your partner, to also know, because they will be able to then target the ones that are most important to you. So Gary Chapman figured out very, very cleverly that most of us go out and give love in the way that we want to receive love. So someone who, for example, is an act of service person like myself, I will go out and give lots of acts to go out and basically tell my wife that I love her, that I appreciate her, that she's important. Now, interestingly, if my wife were, let's say, a quality time person or a words of affirmation person, I would be missing what she's really desiring and wanting. And so there's this kind of sort of classic example that I always think about, where I remember going out and washing my wife's car like for 3 hours, detailing it, making it really, really beautiful. And so I was doing obviously an act of service, and it was something that she didn't really even notice until, we jumped in the car and we drove, maybe 10 kilometres down the road. And she said, "Oh, did you, wash the car or clean the car?" And obviously that's something that I put a lot of time and energy into. Having said that, I could have spent 5 seconds in going out and just asking her either, a quality question where I stop and pause and listen to her, with open arms to kind of hear what she has to say, or I could have provided her with a compliment. She's a beautiful woman, she's smart, intelligent, she's absolutely amazing, and I could have told her that. And that would have done more than the 3 hours of washing the car. Now, what's interesting is when we're courting, we tend to do all of them. Think about when you've met someone that you were going through dating and all those sorts of stuff. You'd tell them how beautiful their eyes were, or how smart they are, or how funny they might be. You'd definitely be spending a ton of quality time. There would be gifts that are exchanged, even if they were small things like a little rose or a card that's written that appreciates them. There's plenty of acts of service. "Oh, that's okay, I'll pick that up for you. I'll go across town and grab that for you. I can help you move," whatever it might be. And there's plenty of physical affection, people holding hands, embracing, touching, sex and the like. So there's a lot going on in all of them, and people just feel absolutely, bonded. They are very, very connected. And we call this love. We call this passion. We call this honeymoon phase. Interestingly, over time, when people have forged a strong relationship and they love one another, we tend to kind of go back to our defaults. And in there lies the problem. If one partner has a default, as I mentioned, of acts of service, and the other person has a default of quality time, there's a little bit of a mismatch. It doesn't mean that they don't love the other person, but they're not. Each of them are not experiencing love in the way they feel, and so their love tank can be running on empty. I'd like to put a challenge to you to go out and find out what your loved ones, your partner's 2 most primary love languages are, and start to go out and actively fulfill those. It's going to feel fake to start with. I know this. It feels fake for me as well. Having said that, once goodwill is created, it's reciprocated, both partners start to feel their love, fill each other's love tanks, and they then begin to feel much more loved and love their partner likewise. Interestingly also, if you do practice this for long enough, you'll get used to those things. So, if someone finds it difficult to provide words of affirmation, if you do it many, many, many times, there is a tendency that it will actually start to feel genuine after a period of time. But you've got to keep practicing. Hope you enjoyed the 5 love languages. I think Gary Chapman is absolutely brilliant in this thesis. That's why I was happy to share it with you guys, and really excited to hear your thoughts about this. Comment below, share it. I'm really interested to hear how your experience has been, particularly after you've gone out and tried this.